It's because the world knows that we need to have this conversation right here for this particular dispensation in time. And the evils don't want us to make it happen. But guess what? We did. Two people with no patience sat here and made it happen. So you guys know what it is. I got a rant. You know what that rant is? That rant is 5 years from now, you're going to be in the same place doing the same thing. You know why? Because except for the books that you read and the people that you meet, it will keep you in the same place doing the same thing. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're not exposing yourself to new ideas, reading books on the topic of the things that you want to do and accomplish in life, then guess what? You're going to still be in the same place. What do I mean by read books? Well, what if you wanted to be, I don't know, say a carpenter, right? And you didn't want to go to school because you don't have any money. Don't really know anything about vocational rehabilitation, but you want to know about the subject, any subject, you can fill in the blank there. Well, what books do I read? Which is one of the biggest questions that I get. So the books that you read is all of them. How else do you know which one is a good book or a bad book on the subject unless you read more than one? Different opinions on the same topic. How many books have there been written on the word love? Right? So hundreds and hundreds. Read all of them. Learn how to love. Read the Bible. The people that you meet. Well, if you're not meeting people, and guess what? Being blind is not an excuse. Then you're not going to be exposed to the influence of other people. If you're not used to meeting other people, then guess what? When you need that mentor in your life for the particular thing that you want to accomplish, you're not used to meeting people. So your tools are not sharpened for you to meet people. Therefore, you will be in the same place doing the same thing. So listen, guys, read a lot of books and meet new people. Make those two things a habit. Sounds like a plan? Cool. All right. So the last thing is do something. Do something. Guess what? If I had not been doing something and our guest had not been doing something, we would have never met. So you have to do something to be able to expose yourself to new ideas, new thoughts, new personalities, growth. You never know who a person knows, what a person knows, and where they could take you in life based on their influence. So 5 years from now, you will be doing the same thing except for the books that you read and the people that you meet. So without further ado, because I've done it twice now, we're going to introduce Miss Carolyn Covington again. Carolyn, how are you today?
Oh, I am fantastic, Vashaun, and yourself.
I am better than excellent. Better
All right.
than excellent. So, Carolyn, once again, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you became blind, and that whole journey.
Oh, okay. So my blindness came later in life after my career. I grew up in the D.C., Maryland area, as a small child, already knowing what I wanted my destiny to be, what I wanted my career path to be. So I started early. In our house, we couldn't do anything but dream. Sometimes you had nothing but your dreams. So it was mandatory to dream big dreams. And so my mother used to always say, if you dream big, you pursue your dreams, and you help others, then God will bless you. And he definitely did that. So my dream was to become a famous hairstylist, to travel the world, and to own a chain of salons. And by the time I got to ninth grade, actually, getting ready to enter high school, my guidance counselor tried to steal my dreams from me and label me as a troubled teen. Can you imagine that? Now I guess they call it at-risk kids, to the point where they give you these labels and try to hold you back. But that was not about to happen because I still had my big dreams and I pursued them. And I went to cosmetology school in high school. I started early, worked every day after that. Audrey's hairstylist. Audrey became my mentor. It's so important to have these mentors, people to look up to see what you want to become. And so at age 21, God blessed me with my own salon right in front of the high school that I attended. So
Mm.
it was named In Flight Hair Salon. Isn't that something? Go right back to your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying
So I opened
insight
that salon. In Flight,
in
F L
flight.
E
Got you.
T. Yes, because we were always taking off
All
and we
right.
were going places. I knew we were going places, big places, because I had big dreams. And, those dreams became a reality because, every morning when I woke up, I stepped back into my dream. It wasn't like one of those things where you're just daydreaming here and there, hit or miss. I had to make actions and moves to make this dream come true. So by that time, the famous hairstylist that I wanted to be, I landed on the cover of the very first Black Passion magazine, full size magazine with all black hairstyles in it, with beautiful black women, before we had to look at those other books and try to create styles from it.
Mm.
So, with being on that cover, my name, Carolyn Marshall and In Flight, became infamous. So, that was part one of the dream. And then part two was to travel the world. So I worked for major manufacturers and I traveled training hairstylists throughout the U.S., the UK, Canada, Africa, and of course, I love the Caribbean. And so I got to get exposure and learn different cultures and, just learn people. As you were just saying, you have to explore people. And so that was my traveling part. But then I had to get working on that chain of salons. And so we trailblazed to Virginia and opened two salons, and then to North Carolina, where I am today, opening salons and helping others to open in-flight hair salons as well, to become entrepreneurs. Yep. So that's where the whole salon chain came about. But
Mm-hmm.
in 2000, Vashawn, is when I call it my unthinkable. I always ask people, what's your unthinkable? What's the one thing that could happen to you that you think you could never recover from? And
Mm-hmm.
it gets their minds going. But, my unthinkable became, gave me an opportunity to live my best life. God it was turned all upside down, but I landed in a position where he set me on a path of living my best life because it's his purpose and his plan. So through 2000, I was in denial when I got diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosus, RP, and they said gradually you will go blind. I thought, well, by the time I go blind, they'll find a cure. So I continued on. But by 2016 is when it hit me, and I'm sure you can relate when they take your driver's license, you become legally blind, and it's just like you're stripping me of everything that I've had in my life, and so I closed up all my businesses and started spiraling down quickly, went home, and it doesn't matter whether you fall from the top or the middle.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit rock bottom, you're with everybody else. We are at the bottom of the pit. And I was there, and tried to fix it myself, tried to get back up, wanted God to put me back up at the top of my game. But he wanted to use me. He'll use you right where you are. So
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to use me right there. And so he gave me a purpose and a plan and planted in my heart insightful visionaries and a nonprofit to work with persons with disabilities and especially with our blind community. And that's how we are here today, Vashawn, to talk about insightful visionaries.
Mm-hmm. So when you had the hair salons, and you say you closed them, like they were revenue generating businesses, why did you close them? Did you have to just deal with the blindness, or did you not see that you could still be a owner and a manager of these multiple locations?
At that time, let's say 2016, my mom passed away. I was grieving my mom, grieving losing my sight, and I just really couldn't see my way out of it. I let the darkness get in the way, is what
Mm.
I did. Because no, I did not have to do it, but I just felt like helpless. Let's just go back and let's shut down. Let's try to rethink and regroup and get back out there, which I have done, also. We'll talk about that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was just that period where you just feel like people are all looking at you, they're staring. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell people that I was losing my sight, but it was obvious walking into things that, they're handing me the credit card, and if you weren't in my little window,
Mm-hmm.
you're standing there with your hand out, and then you're rushing me, and I'm like, I didn't see it, but I didn't want to say I didn't see it. So at that point, I just decided to just close down and go home. And so I did that, but I'm glad I did because it gave me time to wrestle with myself and learn so much about myself. When you're moving fast, a lot of things slip that you're doing and that you're thinking. But when you're sitting there with nothing but time on your hands
Mm-hmm.
and darkness, you really reevaluate yourself. And you think you can do everything on your own, or you think you've done things on your own. God is always there, but you still think you're making it happen, and you can't make anything happen. So, then you realize who's in control of all of this, and there's a better way to deliver beauty. My whole thing was about making everybody so beautiful, and the reward that came with that. But really, beauty is from the inside. So we're working in a whole nother level now of beauty. So I see everything different. God had to make me blind to be able to see, if that makes any sense. But
Mm-hmm.
I see the whole world differently now. Yeah. So Insight for Visionaries. Well, first of all, rehab. Rehab is so crucial because at first I wouldn't do it. It's just like, okay, I don't want to be blind. I don't want to be with blind people. They can't tell me what to do. I'm just gonna sit here and be blind.
All
You
right.
know. So I'm sure there's people out there that can relate to that.
Right.
But once I had to swallow all this pride and realize you better get some help, fool. I had to
Mm-hmm.
get up and get that help. But he put me in the hands of the greatest people, all these mentors, people that have been blind their whole life. They were sharing stories with me. There's life after blindness. First time I heard that, I was thinking, you gotta be kidding. Is that cliche? But
Mm-hmm.
there is definitely life after blindness, but you have to accept that you're blind. Once I accepted that I am blind, and this is a whole new world for me, and I better get out here and learn it, um, then my wheels started to turn again. So I had so many people that were supportive of Insightful Visionaries and the different programs we were going to do. So our mission is to empower persons with disability, and it's through advocacy, education, health, wellness, and arts and entertainment. And that's the part they love the most was the entertainment part because I think we get isolated or we feel like we don't want to be inclusive because everybody's looking at us. So when Anastasia, the
Mm-hmm.
lovely lady, Anastasia and Chris with IFB asked us to host their Blind Idol singing competition in Raleigh. Wow, that put me back on top of the world again. So I got to call out all the top hairstylists, top makeup artists, clothing designers, musicians. We even had Matthew Whitaker to come in as our guest performer. Pianist, blind pianist. So it attracted so many people. So we had a huge event at the Renaissance Hotel in North Hills, which is your frou area.
Mm-hmm.
And people were so amazed. They're like, I've never seen so many blind people and so many dogs. And I was like, well, get ready. So that was very eventful. And I felt so, it gave me so much pride to know that I wanted people to see blindness in another light. Not like all the little poor blind people are singing. I wanted us to look like we were going for our Academy Awards. And that's what we did. And then we had the second year of it, and we took it to the Carolina Theater in Durham for the second year. So we were growing each and every year that we were doing this. Those were two of our main events. But then the give back to the community is the Christmas Without Lights. And that is so near and dear to my heart because when we first started out, I had one thing in mind, and then I started interviewing blind people that were and how they experienced Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And some that had been blind their whole lives, the things they would talk about, like unwrapping the gift, and they like the sound of the wrapping paper. When I know we would look at a gift, and depending on what the colors were or how big the box was, we were, we were trying to
Right.
figure out what's in there, as a sighted person. And so with hearing all of that and how they would smell the cookies and the baking, things like that, it really, really got to me, and it got to the point where I feel like other people need to know about that. So we did that with the interviews, and we took it all into an event where we would serve dinner for 150 people free of charge within our community. And we'd have beautiful decorations with people describing the decorations, and then, of course, entertainment from our community. So this past year, we had to move that to a Zoom and get virtual with it, and you graced us with your saxophone
Thank
and
you.
telling us a little bit about your business because it's all about networking. And so that went over really well. It went over really well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Um, what was the transition like? Because you've done the events in person, and I mean you made it this national thing, and it was great. And I mean so much to the point where American Idol told you guys to stop it because you're garnering attention and you're using our idol. So it was
Absolutely.
big to get a cease and
Absolutely.
desist. So what was it like
There
to
you go.
right to do a real program with people in the audience and now have to transition, which you did very gracefully and beautiful by the way, into this
Thank
virtual
you.
world with COVID.
Well, we would love to have had an audience because we feed off of the audience. That first year, after each performer performed, the whole entire we had over 450 people in the audience. Everybody stood and clapped. I mean, my knees were a little, a little rocky at the end of the event, and was that how that made that person feel that was performing,
Hmm.
good or bad?
Right, right.
What that did for them. Yeah, so not having that takes away a little bit because I think that helps it just gets the crowd going and the atmosphere and all of that. But I think we did pretty good just taking different individuals and plugging them in. It was pre-recorded. We had an awesome host, Devin. And he knows our blind community because he normally is our photographer and videographer at all of our events. So
Hmm.
he filled right in with saying the right things. We included the right people that would give a message. It wasn't just only on entertainment. We wanted messages, strong messages going out to the blind community and to the general public who's listening. If we don't let them see us in a positive light, they're going to continue to ignore us because that's pretty much what they do is
Hmm.
just ignore the blind community. And so I think we did a pretty good job. All of the people that participated were really happy about the presentation. So, I'll be glad when we can get back out there, but until then, we will continue to rock it virtually.
Yep. Um.
So we've got the Valentine's Day coming up too, and it too will be virtual.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, so we spent a little time working on that. That's February 13th. It's a pre-Valentine's because it's on Saturday at 6 p.m. So get your chocolate-covered strawberries and your champagne out, and just join us for a listening party. So you don't have to. It's nothing to sit and look at. So all you have to do is zoom in, call in, put your little speakers on, your boom speakers, and enjoy. It's going to be a lot of love being shown through.
Okay, can you hear me? Carolyn, can you hear me?
9. Try again.
Hello?
10:57 a.m.